This lesson we're going to be looking at and practicing with the multiplying and dividing monomials. We're going to combine what we did the last two videos and just get some practice in. So let's get started. Okay, if we look at example number 1, we're multiplying monomials. So remember that when we multiply monomials, we multiply the coefficients together, and then we add the exponents above the variables. So negative 15 times negative 1/3, that would be 1/3 of 15, which is 5, because both of them are negative, and negative times a negative would be a positive. So what we would end up with is positive 5. Now, looking at the variables, we have x times x, so x to the first power times x to the first power. If we add those exponents together, this would be x squared. Y to the fourth power times y to the third power would be y to the seventh power. And so our simplified expression here would be 5x squared y to the seventh power. Look at the next example. Again, we have negative 18 m squared n. All of that's being squared. And then we have negative 1/6 m n squared. So what we end up with is negative 18. What we're going to have to do first is take care of this power of a power. So remember that when we're doing a power of a power, that we need to distribute the exponent to everything on the inside. So that means we're going to raise negative 18 to the second power. It's negative 18 squared. And then m to the fourth power. Multiply those exponents together. And n squared. Now we want to simplify negative 18 squared, okay, which would be 324. M to the fourth power and n to the second power. Now we haven't done anything with the negative 1/6 yet, so we still need to multiply. So remember, we're going to multiply the coefficients together. So we're going to multiply 324 times 1/6, which would really just be the same thing as doing 324 and dividing it by 6, which would give us negative 54, because 324 is positive, negative 1/6 is negative, and positive divided by negative is a negative. Okay, m to the fourth times m to the first power. Add the exponents together, this would just be m to the fifth. N squared times n squared, add those exponents together, this would be n to the fourth. So our simplified expression here would be negative 54 m to the fifth power n to the fourth. We look at 3, this is a quotient of powers, so we're going to divide, and when we divide, we subtract. So we're going to subtract the exponents here. 15 divided by 5, that's just dividing coefficients, that would be 3. X to the 6th divided by x to the first power, 6 minus 1, x to the 5th. So remember, you're subtracting those. Y to the negative 11th, or y to the negative 9th, minus y to the negative 11th. Remember, that is 9 minus negative 11, which would negative 9 minus negative 11, which would change to negative 9 plus 11, and so that would end up being positive 2. It's going to be important to note, make sure that you are paying careful attention to that, because that could mean the difference of having y squared, having a positive exponent versus having a negative exponent. Okay, so looking at this next one, we have 48 x to the 6th, y to the 7th, z to the 5th, divided by negative 6x, y to the 5th, and z to the 6th. So 48 divided by negative 6 is going to be negative 8. X to the 6th divided by x to the first power, that's going to be x to the 5th, we subtract. Y to the 7th divided by y to the 5th, that's going to be y to the second power. Z to the 5th divided by z to the 6th would be z to the negative first power. Remember that we can't have a negative exponent when we're simplifying. So I'm going to take care of that, and the way that I take care of that is by moving it to the bottom of our fraction. Remember that this is already a fraction. We have an invisible 1 that's written there. So now that I need something in the bottom, we'll write our fraction part. Okay. Let's look at this next one. This is where we are raising a quotient to a power. So we're going to distribute this exponent across. Actually, we got to take care of a couple of things here. Because we have a negative exponent, what we need to do first is we need to flip it. So we need to take the reciprocal. So instead of 2xz to the 5th over negative 3z to the 6th, the reciprocal would be to say, hey, let's take negative 3xz to the 6th over 2xz to the 5th, and let's now make this exponent positive because we're taking the reciprocal. Okay, then, now that we've taken care of that part, now that we have a quotient and that's being raised to the power, then we're going to distribute it. So we'll distribute it to the top and to the bottom. So when we do that, we have negative 3 squared, we have x squared, and we have z to the 12th power because we're multiplying the exponents. We have, when we do it to the bottom, that's 2 squared, x squared, and we have z to the 10th power. Now that we've done that, we need to go ahead and take care of this part right here. Negative 3 squared is, again, because it was on the outside, negative 3 squared is 9. So that's 9x squared z to the 12th. 2 squared is 4. So 4x squared z to the 10th. 9 over 4 is just going to stay 9 over 4. That cannot be simplified any further. X squared, 2 minus 2 is 0, so that ends up going away. So our x's actually disappear. Z to the 12th divided by z to the 10th would be z squared. And so we end up with 9 over 4 z, 9z squared over 4. There we go. There's our simplified expression. Okay, looking at this one, we're going to work our way from the inside out. So we're going to start with this 2 squared cubed. Because this is a power of powers, we're going to multiply the exponents here. So this becomes 2 to the 6th. We haven't done anything else with anything else that's in here, so this is still x z to the 5th. And all of that, remember, was being raised to the second power. And now we will do our quotient of powers. 2 to the 6th becomes 2 to the 12th. X squared and z to the 10th power. And then we'll need to figure out what 2 to the 12th is. And that is 4,096 x squared and z to the 10th. Okay, hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. Again, please subscribe to the channel for more videos, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next one.